A Chernobyl waiting to happen. That's what MIT professor Kate Brown calls the nuclear power plant, very unwisely located on an otherwise beautiful stretch of beach in Southern California. It wasn't just that the San Onofre nuclear power plant built in the 1960s defaced one of the most beautiful and valuable stretches of beach on the planet. It's also that it's located on a body of water that was called Earthquake Bay on an 1855 map before California real estate sellers decided they better make some local names sound a little less scary. I, for one, have always found it impossible to drive by a nuclear power plant on the Pacific Coast Highway without imagining the worst, which is why in 2006 we imagined the worst in an episode of NBC's The West Wing.
How many people are still in San Andreas?
About 30,000.
I don't want to release any radiation until everyone's been evacuated. What's the alternative?
An explosion that spreads radiation all over Southern California, maybe parts of Arizona and Nevada. Sir.
How much would we have to vent?
We think it would be within EPA's parameters for an acceptable dosage.
It's Santa Ana season in Southern California.
Which could be good if the winds stay consistent. The radiation could drift out over the ocean.
How do we speed up the evacuation?
Tell people we're about to spill radiation into the air. Good chance that'll speed them up.
In 2013, the aging nuclear power plant was finally shut down when a radioactive leak was discovered, just as we had imagined on the West Wing. Now comes the impossible part. What to do with the 3,600,000 pounds of nuclear waste that is sitting on that beach in substandard, thin-walled canisters, canisters that can remain deadly for hundreds of thousands of years. Who gets to make the decision about what happens to this deadly waste that can threaten millions upon millions of people for hundreds of thousands of years? The man who got 81 million votes sleeping in the White House tonight? No. The governor of California, is it up to him? No. No one who anyone voted for to deal with such problems gets to decide what happens to that nuclear waste. It's all up to someone you've never heard of. Mitchell Beckloff, a local Los Angeles County judge who got exactly 0 votes in his last election to his judgeship in 2016 because he was running unopposed as an incumbent judge. And according to local election rules, when a judge is running unopposed, their name doesn't even have to appear on the ballot. Judge Mitchell Beckloff might be a great judge. I don't know. But he should be sitting there deciding wills contested by families, not what happens for the next couple of 100,000 years. I don't know. What do we do with something like this? What we do know is that everything about this story is just crazy. Locating a nuclear power plant on Earthquake Bay without ever knowing what to do about nuclear waste in that power plant or any other nuclear power plant, and then leaving the decision about the nuclear waste 53 years later, not to a nuclear scientist, not to a president being advised by nuclear scientists, but to a single judge in a busy urban courthouse. Imagine being the member of Congress representing that district whose own home, whose own life is threatened by that nuclear waste. Joining us now is that Congressman, Democratic Congressman Mike Levin of California, who represents California's 49th Congressional District, and he is a member of the Committee on Natural Resources. Congressman Levin, at this stage, it seems it's all up to Judge Mitchell Beckloff in a lawsuit that has been filed to try to force the proper handling of that waste. What are the possible outcomes here?
Well, thanks for having me, Lawrence. And, there is pending litigation right now, but make no mistake, the decommissioning continues at San Onofre. They're in the process. In fact, I was just there a couple of days ago. They're in the process of taking apart the domes that many are familiar with as they drive down the Southern California coast. And let's just be clear about this. The problem, as much as a problem as you laid out well, at San Onofre exists, it's really the symptom of a bigger problem. And the bigger problem is we have nowhere to send the waste at San Onofre. In fact, we have nowhere to send the waste at the 80 or so spent nuclear fuel sites across the United States. So that's what I'm focused on in Congress, is trying to develop solutions to our nation's spent nuclear fuel challenges. And this is an issue that has gone on far too long without concrete action from Republican administrations and Democratic administrations alike. And we've got to fix it. And now is the time to do it.
And what are Judge Beckloff's options in this lawsuit at this point?
Well, I think they could stop the decommissioning process as it is ongoing now. They could force changes in the way it's being done. But the reality is that there are about 125 or 126 canisters worth of waste. It'll get up to about 135. And then once it is stored there, once the rest of the plant has been decommissioned and a lot of that low-level waste has been sent off to Utah and other places, the question is what to do with that high-level radioactive waste. And you laid it out well, Lawrence. You've got, within 50 miles of that plant, 9 million people. I live about 10 miles away from the plant. You've got active and inactive earthquake faults. And oh, by the way, you've got rising sea levels. So one of the things that I have decided is important is that we've got to prioritize moving the waste from the highest risk sites in the United States. And we've introduced legislation in the last Congress. We'll be reintroducing it in this Congress that says for all of the nation's nuclear waste, move the waste first from those sites with the highest seismic risk and the highest population density. That just makes all the sense in the world. And there's nowhere worse that you could put a nuclear power plant than right in the middle of metropolitan Southern California. And that's why we've got to get that waste off the coast as quickly and as safely as we can.
Yes, Southern California, high population density location for that plant, but also Earthquake Bay. I mean, what 1964 they think, yeah, Earthquake Bay is fine. Let's just build it right here.
Well, you probably should have told us that before we bought our house. But nonetheless, the reality is this is a beautiful community. We all want to stay here, and we know that earthquakes are a reality. The folks there at the plant will tell you that it can withstand a pretty powerful earthquake. But Lawrence, I don't want to find out, which is, again, why we need solutions. And my hope is that they can be bipartisan solutions. There's no reason that spent nuclear fuel should be a Republican or a Democratic issue. So we're going to come together, a group of us in Congress, and we're going to try to work on this and get it done.